you just believe any story that you
change the
hear.
entire timeline that we know. It's not. We're not talking about Bigfoot or LeBron James at all, actually, or even Disneyland, which we're all indoctrinated with.
Welcome back to another episode of Bad Bible Debates, the show where Joel and I debate. Now, Joel is running a little bit late today. He sent a message saying he locked his keys in his car. Let me check this. Sorry, I read this wrong. He locked himself in his car and his keys are outside of the car. I don't know how he did that, but he's going to be dealing with that for a bit. And while we wait for him, let's get into the first clip. Today's topic is D.F.K. There are a few laws missing from the Bible. It's not that they got lost in translation or anything like that. They were just never put in there. We may have mentioned this before, but since we are recording these live debates on TikTok, there are some words we can and can't say. So sometimes having these conversations can be a little tricky. And acronyms can be helpful for that. So Joel came up with a handy acronym for a Bible law that just never showed up in the Bible. It is D.F.K, or Don't Fuck Kids.
Why do you think I should believe in the Christian God?
In general, I'm against, I don't think individually, you have to be, you don't have, it should be forbidden to be atheist, but I'm really against this preaching of atheists that I see, which you are doing also.
So you don't think I should believe in the Christian God?
Oh, you can do whatever you want. I just don't
Okay,
like.
Well, then I will not believe. I think we've settled it. Did you have something else to offer?
Yes, I don't like. I said I don't like the preaching of atheism and the atheist beliefs.
Why not?
Like in a society, pretty much, if you remove God and religion from people's lives, there will be pretty much no foundation for morality.
If we can base our morality on not God sources, we can ground it on other humans or empathy groundings or just general an if-then contractual type of statement, right? Then we can ground it on actual goodness for goodness sake and not just following, the letter of the law, which is the main problem of when people do believe and they go, I don't know what to do in this situation. So they look at this old book for answers because they think this is objectively morally correct. It's not. And then they look at it and go, fuck, now I have to do this. I have to kick my kids out of the house because they turned out to be LGBTQ+. They're making bad moral decisions based off of this bad thing, which is why I think we should get rid of it and then start using a better source of morality. Because the book has a bunch of bad stuff in it,
Bad, yes, but bad in what sense? Because there is no good and bad if there's nothing beyond just ordinary life, basically.
That's exactly what I mean. Good and bad in reference to ordinary life, yes. Which is there's
pretty much no.
I don't need to be good because some other the Andromeda galaxy exists. That isn't what I'm good for. I'm good for other people. So my goodness depends on what other people prefer.
Yeah, but that's subjective. What you perceive as good, someone else might perceive as good different things. You
correct.
In order to have a society.
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal. But if we all just say okay, so we're going to listen to one voice, we're going to listen to these old people who wrote this book. I think there are better books than this to be the source. We should use a more modern, someone who was a philosophical ethicist who's thought about this more deeply and has been able to come up with a better morality. I could come up with a better standard of morality than the Bible. You know what I mean? And I suck. I'm an idiot,
I'm just saying what's good for society. What I believe is good for society.
Well, I think what's good for society is that we ditch the religion and we start a moral foundation based off of stuff that matters more than what we think God thinks of us. It'd be better to do it based off of each other, how we can treat each other, right?
Yeah, but your moral framework, it's evident, I suppose, that it's based on leftist views.
Think about this for a second. If you went around preaching and said God is real and you convinced someone, some gullible guy walking down the street hears you say God is real and he goes, well, God is real, I'm going to look at the Bible. And then they look at this whole Bible and they start doing things from this Bible that are terrible, right? They've used what you've taught as a moral foundation and they've gone and done horrible, horrible things. Rather than preaching God is real, you should be teaching a good moral foundation without the book first. And then if you want to, and if it turns out to be real, you can go ahead and go say, also there's a God too. But our moral foundation should be separate from this, because not everyone interprets this the same way you do. Someone might read this and go like, unalive a bunch of Amalekites, because they don't know any better, you know?
Can you give an example of what a horrible thing is?
Unaliving babies. Like God says to do this, we should do this sometimes.
Okay, but that's like in the Old Testament.
Yes, and Jesus says, I'm the God from the Old Testament. So people say, I believe in the Bible. The Bible says Jesus is real. Jesus says he's the God from the Old Testament. The God from the Old Testament did a bunch of terrible things.
Just because the Old Testament says something doesn't mean that Christians believe them or have to believe them. Christians believe the New Testament.
Was Jesus the God from the Old Testament?
I mean, maybe he was.
Okay, so if he was, then did Jesus do all those bad things?
Maybe he did.
Okay, so then should we look to this guy who did bad things as a source of morality?
Well, it's basically more about the lessons he taught and the the Old Testament, whatever. Like there's this Jewish mythology.
Yeah. So you're saying that like even if someone did like horrible, horrible things, like Genghis Khan just like conquered and killed, right? Like he was terrible, but he also said like, hey, you guys should share. Then we would go, oh, Genghis Khan said we should share. That's why we should share.
Yeah, but the only reason you believe that Genghis Khan was terrible is because of Christianity, pretty much. Like this sort of do not kill, do not harm your neighbor and stuff.
Oh, that was just a Christian thing only? No one else thought of that?
Well, it didn't pretty much exist in most other parts of the world.
Yeah.
That's the law of nature. Kill.
Yeah. Do you want to know what else? Atheists also think that. But here's a big difference. In Christianity, a lot of death and killing happens. God killed his own son. Right? That's part of the story. And generally in Christianity, they think the Old Testament is true. They think the flood happened for real. Right? They think Saul went and got the Amalekites for real.
But the atheists believe that because I think most atheists have a Christian morality but secular, like without God. Because of course it's logical that they grew up in a Christian sort of moral framework.
No, I don't think so. By the way, nowhere in Christianity is there a rule like Joel talked about. It's like, where's the rule that says don't fuck kids? Which commandment is it? When did Jesus say it?
I don't think they talked about that sort of
thing.
thing.
They didn't talk about that, but you agree with it, right?
Don't
fuck.
I mean, that's a different discussion. Like the age of consent, for example, is different in where I live.
Okay, so let's use 4-year-olds. You think that 4-year-olds is okay or not okay?
No, that's very
okay.
unnatural.
I agree with you, but that you didn't get that from the Bible. So where'd you get that from? Did you get that from my atheist worldview? Because we all believe that. Every atheist.
No, I believe that because it's unnatural because they're not fit to have kids at that age.
Just because they're not fit. Okay, so once they're 9 or 10, then they can. So it's okay.
I think like 15 is the.
Oh
like the
no!
prime.
You're disgusting. Oh, I am so sorry about that, everyone. I didn't think he was going to go that low.
Mezzo's in the lunchroom. I came in here and he's like, oh man, I just ate, because he was listening to the last debate. And I was like, yeah, cool. Should I record my thing now? And he's like, well, I got to go eat. And I was like, but you said you just ate. Anyway, I didn't lock my keys in my car. I know that I did send that message to Mezzo. For those of you who don't know, we record these in England. We fly over to England, and it's just difficult because the steering wheel is on the other side of the car. And so I was in the car and I was sitting in the passenger seat thinking I was in the driver's seat, and I was in one of these cars that doesn't have the key fob thing. It just has the manual key. It's an old, like a classic car. I thought it'd be cool to rent a classic car. And so I'm sitting in the passenger side, and you can't unlock on the passenger side, but I think I'm in the driver's seat. Anyway, it took me about 45 minutes to an hour to kind of figure out, go into the driver's seat because that's on the other side, as soon as I realized there's no wheel in front of me. And then I was able to hit the right button that unlocked it and everything was fine. I just don't want anyone thinking I'm just a big stupid dummy. I obviously know how to get out of a car if I were, in Canada or whatever. But I'm in a foreign land. This next debate is the first time that I brought out my now famous acronym D.F.K. I read full chapters of the Bible on my YouTube channel, Joel Reads Bible. And I was reading through Leviticus, and there's some sex laws in Leviticus 18. And I noticed that there's nothing in there to say, don't fuck kids. There's actually nothing literally in the whole entire Bible telling us to not fuck kids. But there is so much stuff, so much excruciating detail saying all sorts of other things that at this point seem completely unnecessary and ludicrous. So in this debate, I take the opportunity to bring that to this particular Christian's attention. Enjoy. Pi, you were yapping in the comments saying that you had answers or something like that?
You can ask your question.
So why shouldn't we dump the Bible?
Okay, well, the Bible's a moral standard based on being selfless and putting others before yourself.
Show me where in the Bible it says be selfless.
When Jesus says, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Oh, so love yourself. So let's do that. So we have to love ourselves. That's not selfless. So one of the main things there is we have to love ourselves.
When it says love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Not really selfless as you claimed, but it is a nice thing. It's a nice platitude. But I don't think that is like some sort of important moral idea that we don't get in other cultures. I don't think that it's really necessary to keep the Bible around for. It's not a horrible idea. Mm-hmm.
Do we see any cultures that were actually following this type of rule?
I don't know. I can see that the Hebrews weren't. They were enslaving their neighbors. They were genociding their neighbors.
Yep. What was better for them to unalive a family member than for the whole group to be unalived?
Yeah, that's because of God's twisted, disgusting morality. Yeah, but God was so fucked that they would have been really in trouble. Good point, Pi.
But anyway, you failed to show me where the Golden Rule started.
The earliest recorded version of the Golden Rule may be the phrase, do to the doer to make him do. From the story of the eloquent peasant, this story dates to the Middle Kingdom around 2040 to 1650 BCE.
So who was actually doing that? Because if you study...
It doesn't matter. It's an idea that predates the Bible. We don't need the Bible to gain that idea.
It was the culture, right?
Well, no, like if you're going to treat people the way you don't want to be treated, they're going to treat you that way back. I don't want people breaking into my house, so I'm not going to break into other people's houses. I don't want to live in a culture where people break into each other's houses.
Let me give you this example. If we said that with actual certainty that the world is ending tomorrow, what would happen?
I don't think I'd be a menace. I feel like I'd be like the whole world's ending, like the whole thing is just going. Like I would be hedonistic in my choices.
Yeah, and then the last thing you'll do is think about someone else too, right?
I think that I would be thinking about someone else and giving them orgasms.
Then let's take another example to say that, okay, Jesus is coming tomorrow.
If the whole world were going to end tomorrow, one of them, they are crying out for Jesus Christ. They're scared of the judgment or something. So in the scenario where there's no God, people want to come. So everybody wants to have orgasms, and generally they want to experience some sort of pleasure, and probably with someone that they care about. I think that's going to be the main consensus here. But if there's a Jesus involved, then they're going to do what is necessary to gain the reward. You think that is a better outcome? You think that is better behavior? Like if I'm married and Jesus is going to come back, I probably would still do the orgasm part, and then whatever needs to be done to gain that reward, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like there's no reason for me not to make my wife come.
Let me take an example of Allah.
the Muslim God. What he actually wants is for you to go unalive
To marry a 9-year-old.
disbelievers. But because of the character of Jesus,
Yeah,
you'll act
Jesus
like
will Jesus will handle that stuff. He'll punish people. Like it'll be worse for those that don't follow him as it was in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. So he's the same, but he's going to take care of it rather than
But what I'm saying
Allah.
is, yeah,
You're trying to say that, like, look at how we would act differently with God, with Jesus involved or something like that. We're more moral, and you haven't proven that yet. And you're saying, then you're like, well, he's more moral than if you were to follow Allah, maybe, but ultimately he's really not that much better if we look at it like if it's not like the last day on earth or whatever. The difference is a little bit more negligible, right? What in the Bible do we need morally, like a really good, solid moral or something?
I don't know which law is greater than love your neighbor as you love yourself, and love your God as you love yourself, right?
What does it mean to love God, and how does it benefit our society? How does it benefit us in any way?
So if you love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, then you'll live in peace, and you will be prosperous.
Look, some people here are freaks. They probably want to live in piss. Some people you want to be pissed on. Not for me. No, look, golden showers aside. No, the Bible will fuck you up, you know. It's a good deterrent. Okay, so listen, you know, you think you're I'm so filthy, piss on me. Okay, so listen, Pi. You believe that if you love the Lord your God, specifically Yahweh, you'll live in peace? That's your argument?
Mm-hmm. Just look at the world today. The civilizations that were built on Christian Judeo values are way more prosperous and peaceful. The foundation was set up by
the sword, right? By the sword. You'll remember, Pi, that the foundation was set up by the sword. Do you remember that part? Do you remember the crusades and stuff? Well, no. But what you're doing now is we're dropping the talking about the Bible. We're not looking at what the Bible is. What we're saying is that these cultures that are successful have been set up by the Bible. I'm going to say that they haven't been, because we can see that our laws and the things that we value do not match the Bible. Like that they're just not the same. So what you're saying is not true.
So if you look at the nation of Israel today, it's much freer, much more prosperous. It has more use to the world, much more use to the world than all the other countries around it.
Pi, if you're going to say right now that all of Western civilization is based on do unto others as you would have them do unto you, or love your neighbor, if that's what you're saying, that's a broad stroke, that's very vague, it's going to be really hard to prove that. Like that's just silly nonsense. In our country, there's an age of consent law that we have on the books where you can't sleep with someone who is of a certain age. And if they're younger than that age, you have to be within like 2 or 3 years, or you can't sleep with them. And anything beyond that would be considered statutory rape. I just want you to find somewhere in the Bible that reflects that notion of not fucking children. Because the Western civilization is based on Judeo-Christian values. So if you can find the Judeo-Christian value that cares about consent and children being protected, just find that for me, and then then you win that one. So, Pi, you're not going to be able to find it. So the point is that we have consent laws because we use science and understanding of brain development, things like that, and that's where we develop our behaviors and our preferred behaviors, because we don't want people to be harmed. The point is that it's importantly lacking. It's not in there at all. There's not a whiff of it. If we're looking for the Bible to be our source of morality, the fact that it doesn't tell us anything on this subject and we come up with it ourselves shows you it's useless. We don't need it. We're doing better. We're coming up with things that are outside of the Bible. We've stopped doing the slavery thing. We've stopped, hopefully, taking women as spoils of war. We've stopped doing all the Bible stuff that's just incredibly heinous. We stopped stoning people or giving them capital punishment for all sorts of silly little things like adultery. That's just fun. Our morality and our cultures don't reflect the Bible. Let's not look at the Bible for morality when it doesn't give us the morality we need. We do it ourselves.
Well, that was an excellent BBD. Joel stepped out again. For some reason, lately, he's been putting on this white suit. It's like a nice white suit, and he just goes down to the crosswalk over here and just crosses the street back and forth saying, "I am the walrus," or something like that. It's very weird. I don't know what's happening. Anyway, this next clip is actually a two-parter. First, just a fun little moment from a fan and a couple of silly sports jokes. Then we'll hear two of my very own and most favorite trademarked skeptical arguments about what kinds of evidence are compelling. One is called Cooking Eggs with Bigfoot, and the other involves a notarized letter regarding some absolute bullshit. And yes, I did actually print out a real letter and put a notary seal on it and signed it and everything. Let's take a listen.
Real quick, gentlemen, real quick. Let me say this right quick because the Philadelphia-Dallas game is getting ready to come on. Y'all are the best part of the start of my fucking week. Mezzo, the way you articulate and eat they asses up.
No, I was going to say, I know that the compliment wasn't for me, but I do vocal warm-ups and exercises.
Somebody got to tell you, you do a good job too, baby. Don't let them shit on you. Don't take Mezzo's picking either. You do a really good job.
I'm not in control of this live. I'm not the boss of this
Mezzo,
live.
you are childish, and you
I am
do be doing
I'm
stuff.
just like a face they plaster up here. I'm not behind any of this. I'm like those Disney child stars. Like I just am up here to like.
Dude, you are the
pin up
Dr.
here.
Evil of atheism. Shut up. I'm not trying to hear that.
Atheism? First of all, we're called Laser Hawks now. If you were here early in the live, we have a cooler name. Laser
Are they
Hawk
Kansas Hawk Tours?
Yeah, Laser Hawk Tua is like that's our
Okay.
Like
Okay.
that's our speech that we say, you know, like that's what
Got it.
we spit it out, our Laser Hawk Tua.
When we meet with each other, we say "hawk to ya," and then the other one goes "hawk to ya."
What game is on? Who's playing?
Philadelphia and Dallas, and I don't want to hear it.
Joel, Philadelphia and Dallas are American cities that have sports teams. The Dallas sports team, I think, is I don't know if she's watching either football or badminton. But I think the Dallas sports team is like the Cow Stars. They might be the Cow Stars.
Okay.
And then
you're saying it's a ball or a birdie?
It's one or the other. I don't know. I think there's a shuttlecock at some point.
All right, hold on here. So you said shuttlecock. It's either a ball or a birdie.
Yeah, just look up shuttlecock birdie Cow Stars.
I'm just writing it down. I'm not Googling it. I'm just putting it into notes here so that I can remember.
A lot of type to get that little thing in. And then the Philadelphia team, God, what are they called? Do you know they're like the Liberty
Eagles.
Boys.
Liberty Boys. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
It's in.
Thanks. Steven, what's your age and religion?
I'm 40, and I am a Christian.
You believe in like Jesus and stuff?
Yeah, I do believe in Jesus. I do.
Do you think he did all the miracles?
I do. I think it's crazy to, it's an extraordinary claim, obviously. I'm aware of that. But I believe that, there's a lot of extraordinary claims in, like, pseudoscience, for instance. Like, there's a lot of extraordinary things in the universe that, like, we don't know about.
Yeah, a lot of pseudoscience have claims that, like, crystals can heal you or, like, people can, like, come back to life from dying and things like that. And I think those are extraordinary, yeah.
Pseudoscience could also be that we were created from nothing, right?
I think that would be pseudoscientific because that's not what anything in science says. So yeah, that's actually true. That's pseudoscience. Yeah.
We obviously work with logic, right? So if you're saying that nothing intelligent created something intelligent, logically speaking, you would have to say that it came from nothing, and it's random.
Well, there's a really big difference between saying something came from nothing versus something intelligent came from something that wasn't intelligent,
which would be illogical in general. How could that be? That last part.
Oh, I see. You're saying it's illogical to compare those two?
To say that something unintelligent created something intelligent. I don't know, because like science is about repeated, like it has to be repeatable. Like we don't see nothing creating something ever.
You're saying we've never seen a tree drop a seed and then a smart tree comes out?
No, we've never seen a black hole create a tree, right? So nothing. We never seen nothing.
Yeah. So then I guess science
something.
would never say like trees come from black holes. That's not like a scientific.
Think theory. That there's alternate dimensions and stuff. Time gets, that's the thing. It's an extraordinary claim what I'm saying about Jesus, but like, come on, man. Black holes bend space time, and then you end up in another dimension, and there's multiple universes upon. Just like these things.
That'd be a big stretch to believe too. I don't believe any of that. I'm not convinced.
They make those claims. Though. I'm not sure if you're a science person.
Yeah, but like, I mean, it's one thing to say like, we don't know what happens at the edge of the universe. We don't know about how physics breaks down inside of a black hole. Like that is true. We don't really know. And so to make some theories about it and some guesses about it and kind of try to figure out the math behind it is interesting. But then to say like, since we aren't so certain of that, that means that people can come back to life is a weird stretch, right?
I mean, there's creatures in nature that actually die and come back to life all the time, especially insects in the insect kingdom. You know those big things on the trees that make really loud noises?
Cicada?
Yeah, cicada. Actually die and then they come back to life.
No, none of them actually die and come back to life. Cicadas appear to just because they go dormant. They're like hibernating, but they're not dead. Yeah.
So is that what happens to humans though when they die?
That's why since humans don't go into like some weird hibernative state, they go through like rigor mortis. Then like that's why they don't come back to life.
So before rigor mortis sets in, we're still alive, basically. Nobody really knows.
So I guess what you're saying is Jesus didn't really die and come back to life. He just like hibernated.
No, I'm saying that Jesus rose people from the dead. Lazarus was one of them that he rose.
How long had Lazarus been dead for?
He was pretty dead. They said that he was, he stinketh. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I think it's Latharus. I think that you want to put the lisp on both of them. Latharus.
4 days. Yeah, so he was even did a bigger miracle than Jesus did. 4 days is better than 3 days. But yeah, that's impossible. I don't think that happened.
I think it did.
Here's a story I'm going to tell you. This is a true thing that happened to me like a few months ago. I was walking in the meadow, and right there in front of me, a Bigfoot appeared. And I talked to it, and we ate eggs together. Now, do you believe this story?
I would believe that your experience, you may have been high on LSD or something.
Why don't you believe my story? Like, why would you assume I'm on LSD?
You saw Bigfoot and you guys ate, what was it?
We had a nice chat and we ate eggs together. Well, like, no one is concerned about the eggs in this story. No one's like, well, I don't believe it because
I just wouldn't believe you. No,
you can't cook eggs, right? That's not the part that's hard to believe. Right. The weird thing is that I had a conversation with Bigfoot. Everyone knows big feet don't speak English. Like, it just doesn't add up. So if I told you that, then you go, oh, there's a flaw in the story. That part's not real. So now it's kind of like the whole story comes into question. I don't know if you really met Bigfoot. I don't know if you really had eggs. Like, we know Bigfoot's like eggs just fine. Eagles usually. So when we read the story of the Bible and now it says like a weird miracle happened, now you have to go like, wait a minute, I have to question this, putting this together. By the way, people are asking what language Bigfoot speaks. I'm not sure. Like, I could let me look that up.
Probably like Chewbacca language or something like.
Which does Bigfoot speak?
Can I make another analogy?
Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Can I add to your story? Would that be all right?
Yeah, sure. It's made up.
So let's just say this made up story, right? That happened. Just say it happened like 2,000 years ago. And there was also like 12 other people or 100 other people that walked and seen Bigfoot, right? And then Bigfoot was also doing all these miracles. And then Bigfoot was like unalived. And then so these people actually, based on a testimony and walking with Bigfoot, right, went to their bloody death because of what they saw. Would you believe that these people lied about what they saw?
Well, so like, just like you did, you said the first thing you did is like maybe you were like hallucinating on some sort of a substance. That would be much more likely. Or like one person made up the story and they all copied each other's work. That's super likely. That's more likely than coming back to life or walking on water. This thing, what you said, like 100 people. Who else? Who all saw?
I'm just saying, if you saw Bigfoot do all these things, you know what you saw, and so did all these other people. would you then be unalived in a terrible way, like crucified upside down, beheaded?
I would never like choose to be crucified or beheaded. If
right,
like
you would be
whatever
like,
it was, I would be like, yeah,
Oh,
no,
I was
that's not
lying.
Like that's something that only like a madman would do, like someone who's just completely out of their gourd and
Right.
like totally like when
Nobody
we say
would
like the
do it.
Heaven's Gate people, you know, like they do, like people who are like joining cults and like just
Not the same.
gullible, mindless like shells of people are totally willing to like go to their death for these things. But I don't know, like I wouldn't trust their word.
They saw him do these things, and they're telling all these people, knowing that the Romans are going to come unalive them.
Stephen, would you believe if I like that Mezzo saw Bigfoot if I told you that my friend Mezzo saw Bigfoot and then was unalived for the belief that he saw Bigfoot?
Well, if a bunch of Romans come to your door and they say, "Hey, we hear that you're telling Christian fairy tales. Is this true?" And you say, "Yes, it is true," even though you know it's a lie.
This is relevant because the thing I made up about Bigfoot is not true, but an actual true story that I will tell you right now, and I have not revealed this before, and so it's a little bit personal, but Bigfoot killed my grandfather 40 years ago. You believe that that's true, right?
I'm sorry, I wasn't laughing. I don't know if your grandfather really was killed by Bigfoot.
But I just
no,
told you, I told you he was, though.
if it came to your life.
I don't know why I would have to. If someone came up and said, "Say this isn't true," or "We'll cut your head off," I would probably just like lie and say, "Okay, yeah, it's not true," but it is true.
That's what they should have done, but they didn't do that.
Yeah, because they were lunatics, right?
No, because they actually walked and talked with this person, Jesus Christ.
Who walked with him?
The disciples and the people that saw him that were unalived for preaching about him. Yeah.
So you believe like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John?
Of course.
Were they the disciples, the guys who wrote those books?
Yeah.
Was Mark one of the 12 disciples?
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and not Luke.
Those are the gospel the names that the church slapped onto the gospels.
Right.
They're not disciples.
Here are the
That's probably more
disciples:
of a Hebrew type
Simon, Andrew, James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, Matthew. Maybe that's the same Matthew. Might be a different Matthew. Hard to know. Another James, Thaddeus, another Simon, and then Judas, who betrayed Jesus. Right. So, of all these people, which ones of them wrote stuff? Two.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Yeah, I didn't read those names though. Remember, Luke wasn't on this list, and neither was
Yeah,
Mark.
Luke was.
And Matthew, we don't know if it's the same Matthew. And John, there's two Johns.
It's
So I don't know
not.
which
The
John you're
Gospels
talking
aren't depicting the person that technically wrote the book, though.
When he came back to life, didn't a lot of people see him?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they
no
did.
one was like, we should tell people about this. Just
They
like
were all
just like
authors? I don't know if they
two
were
or
all
three people wrote about it.
You don't think that Julius Caesar and people in the Roman Empire were trying to destroy people that talked about Jesus at the time, saying that they saw Christ walking?
And God couldn't protect more different stories from other people about it.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I guess
Yes,
you're
it
right.
could,
That is ridiculous.
but that's not what's happening here. You keep trying to deflect and change the narrative when you know what I'm saying.
You're changing any kind of narrative I've ever heard.
We're changing. You keep going to Bigfoot. That has nothing to do with.
He
a
never mentioned
2,000-year-old
Bigfoot. He was just saying that God, who's all powerful, you would think could have protected his narrative.
Bigfoot's a little silly of a thing. That's true. Let me make it a little more like I'll give you a real story that is hard to believe. But even though it's hard to believe, I think it has more evidence than yours. Okay, I got to play LeBron James, like from the Lakers, in a one-on-one basketball game, and I beat him 10-1. And I even did a 360 slam dunk on him. Okay, this is a true story. Okay, so do you believe this story?
I would believe it.
Okay.
Again,
well, you're gullible, I
that's
think, is all it is. So
nothing to
when you just believe any story that you
change the
hear.
entire timeline that we know a man, right? It's not. We're not talking about Bigfoot or LeBron James at all, actually, or even Disneyland, which we're all indoctrinated with.
So whatever you're talking about right now is like a weird, like sporadic, like you're just like jumping around things. Kind of like, are you crashing out, or what's going on with you right now?
I'm just keeping it right. I'm just keeping it real, man.
So Mezzo, you say you beat LeBron James 10-1?
Yeah, and that's true. But like, I didn't expect him to believe it.
Were you playing NBA 2K?
No, like on a basketball court on Venice
I thought you were
Beach.
talking about playing like a video game. I'm sorry.
On a real basketball. Oh, this is working. Hold on. On a real basketball court on Venice Beach. I did a real slam dunk. It was a 360 slam dunk. There was like over 1,000 people watching this in the crowd, and I beat him.
No.
Why don't you believe me?
No,
I just
you
said
did
it.
not. Because you can't beat LeBron. Can't beat King James.
All right. Well, I didn't want to have to do this, but we'll bring out some evidence then. Now, the Bible is text evidence, right? We have anonymous writers. It's not like they like signed and dated their works, you know, in the way that would make it more believable. But I do have verifiable evidence. In fact, I'll show it to you right here. This is a notarized document. And if you can see here, it says that Mezzo hereby declare and affirm the following during a one-on-one game of street basketball between myself and LeBron James, known for his job as power forward of the Los Angeles Lakers, played at the outdoor courts on Venice Beach at 4:40 p.m. on December 10th, 2024. I, Mezzo, not only defeated LeBron 10-1, but also performed a 360 slam dunk by jumping over the Laker in a phenomenal act of basketball. LeBron was surprised and offered me a high five while saying, "Damn, Mezzo, you're the GOAT at street ball, dog." A crowd of 1,546 people were in attendance watching the game, and I have signed affidavits of all 1,546 people who can verify the statement as true and accurate, okay? It's signed, it's notarized, okay, and dated, okay? So, do you have that much evidence?
That's, I think that's pretty good evidence.
Okay.
I think I'll date this day as M1. Like
So-
AD. We're gonna change the whole timeline now based on that evidence.
Yeah. Now, wouldn't that
This
be
is the
ridiculous to
first
do?
day.
I know
Yeah, we're
that you're
starting
being
the whole calendar.
sarcastic because it's so silly what you're saying, but it's exactly what you guys did.
Right. It's not answering the questions that I gave you. It's not even closely, remotely.
The question about Beauty and the Bestiality.
Yeah, I'm talking about Disneyland. We all watch Disney
Yeah,
movies.
everyone
That's why
knows
we don't
that.
understand
Everyone
the
knows that
character
the
of
Beast
God.
was a Sasquatch's cousin. I get that.
Yeah,
But
they're
you're
all
trying to go back
occulted.
to that, and I have a notarized document, but you still don't really believe it, do you?
Well, because we've been brainwashed by Disney. That's what I was trying to say.
Stop saying
Follow
brainwashed
on.
by Disney. You're dodging this
don't
whole
like it?
point. What do you want to say about this document that I showed you?
I want to say that what I said before again, if I can. How does that
Be honest. Do you
measure up
believe
to
me
what?
now?
No.
The text isn't a strong enough way to it's not strong enough evidence to support a miracle. It never is. No matter how many documents are written about Jesus and how many things he did, it will never be enough to prove a miracle because text is not enough evidence. You need to have some archaeological
I've
evidence.
seen
Mine's
it.
notarized.
Before Joel gets back here, I wanted to remind you really quick, we do have some Bad Bible Debates merch. We have tote bags that have the most horrendous Bible verses on them. Slavery, she-bears eating kids, horse dicks, the rest. There's a bunch of good stuff in there. But for now, you can go to tinyurl.com/bbd shop. That's tinyurl.com/bbdshop and check out what we have available right now. Oh, here comes Joel. Oh, hey.
Oh, there you are. Finally, let's do the outro.
Yep, take it away, buddy.
Well, that's it from us. I'm Joel.
I'm Mezzo.
And I'm Joel. And just make sure you follow Bad Bible Debates wherever good podcasts are sold.
Yeah, or wherever you normally hijack them from.
And if you can, like it or leave a comment or anything on whatever platform you're using, please do that too.
That's right, buddy. And be sure to follow me on YouTube and TikTok. That's where we record all of these lives from. So if you want to catch the whole thing live, we got a lot of stuff going on over there.
We're always going live on TikTok and on YouTube. So yeah, definitely follow Mezzo there. And also, hey, look, follow me on TikTok, Joel Reads Bible, or subscribe on YouTube at Joel Reads Bible.
Oh, right. I guess I should say my handle is Mezzo_WS. That's pretty much the same on everything.
That's it from us for now. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Bad Bible Debates.
Dude, I think that went really well.
Actually, you know what? I think that was one of our best.
Oh, I wouldn't say best. I mean, it was okay.
No, I'm not joking.
I really liked your part.
You're so hard on yourself. You know, just listen closer to mine, and maybe you'll get it. You know, I think eventually you will get it.